something again, like you brought up about soccer and everything else, and that was my next point when we're talking about, and this might ruffle little feathers here, is about kids leaving Northern Ontario. Is it inner city politics in the sports city, or is the grass greener on the other side? I don't think it's our coaching, like we talked about off camera. The coaching here is phenomenal, but is it politics? People threatening other people with lawsuits? What do you think when it comes to kids leaving and the reason behind that? Again, we could do probably another show on that alone, but just a touch base right now.
Yeah, I have a lot. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. This one. I mean, if I use myself for an example, right? I look back at myself, and there was talk. My family wanted to move to the States when I was in high school, right? And I just refused because I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave my friends. I didn't want to leave my team. I knew we had, I just didn't want to go. I admire these kids who want to go away. I do. I think it takes a lot of guts. I think it takes. It's a hard decision that I don't think I could have made when I was that age, going away, at 15, 14, sometimes even 13, right? I don't think I could have done it. But one thing that I firmly do believe, and I hear this all the time, is, there's better coaches in Southern Ontario. There's, they get better coaching, they get better direction. I don't believe that at all. I mean, I look through the ranks in the stew. I look everywhere, right? I look at basketball. You mentioned Vitry, you mentioned, Juvenati. We have all sorts of good coaches up here. Then you look at football. We have, Tom Annett, Jim Monaco, Orzetti. We have a lot of great coaches in that too. Soccer has good coaches. Hockey, amazing coaches. We have, NHL guys on almost every staff, it seems like. So we do have the coaches. What I think the issue is the exposure. I really do think people leave for the exposure. And if I could use a couple people as an example, you and I had the pleasure of talking to Ryan Hunter not long ago, won a Super Bowl, with the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And, he said it himself. He said, hey, he moved to the States in high school for exposure, right? And just some other people that off the top of my head, Drew Viotto, another Sault Ste. Marie kid. Decided, made a real tough decision to, go play football down in the Detroit area. And the kid has D1 scholarship offers, and it's all based on exposure, right? And he's getting that exposure down there. I also think about Chase McIntyre. Chase McIntyre played here for years. He went to Southern Ontario, didn't get drafted into the OHL. But Chase, was one of the few kids to get drafted in the, I think, what is it, the 18-year-old draft? Is that what it's called? The
overage, not the overage, but
he got drafted.
The U18 draft for the OHL.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. But he got drafted, right? And he was, they only have 3 rounds, and the kid was drafted there, right? So he got to go to Peterborough. So, I do think the exposure is the big deal, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way actually when people say they're leaving for coaching, because I think we have outstanding coaches in this city in all sports, and I think they all do a great job, and they try and better their craft, and that's all you can ask for, right? We have people who are involved with Basketball Canada. We have people involved with Football Canada, Hockey Canada. I'm assuming that there's people with soccer. I don't know much about soccer, unfortunately, here in town. That's one of the few sports I never played. But, we have coaches here that are good.
Now, and this, again, going to ruffle feathers, but my wife keeps on telling me, don't say it, you're going to piss people off. Are politics driving kids out of town when it comes to the politics within associations?
Yeah, I mean, I think every situation is different.
That happens everywhere, but
I really do.
In a small community.
I do think it happens everywhere. There's not a doubt in my mind it happens everywhere. Does it happen in the Sioux? Absolutely, it happens in the Sioux. But I don't think it's a unique situation, right? And I also, I'm a coach, so I like to give coaches the benefit of the doubt. I always have, I always will. I don't think that coaches are doing things to intentionally hurt kids. I really don't. I don't think that coaches are going out of their way to say, hey, I want to screw this kid. Does it happen? People can argue that it does. I don't believe that coaches do that. I think that when you coach, it's a selfless act, and you're doing it for other people as well. You want to make people better. And if you're out there to try and screw a kid over or trying to hinder a kid's development, I personally just think that you shouldn't coach. You're in the wrong division.
And that's exactly it. And that's where There's few far in between, even in Sault Ste. Marie, that have moved on. But again, even when it comes, it doesn't belong in the professional level, but that's where it happens, right? Politics, again, at that level, but at the amateur level,
Yeah.
and high school level, even collegiate level, we don't need the politics.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I want to know your take on this. So I did some thinking about this, and I'd love to know what other people
Oh,
think.
you thinking, Bono? That's going to be that's a hard there.
It's amazing, right? It's hard to think with this maple leaf on my head. So, but I do think that when
an American flag you'd be sitting in the garbage can.
And I got my Lions logo back there too. I do think, and this is an important point. I really think this is something that we don't often think about. But when you go away, say you go away at 13, 14, 15, 16, years old, I think you really mature during those years. I really do. I think it forces you to grow up. You're away from your parents. You do things like that. You're able to grow up a little bit. When you see kids go away at 17, 18, 19 years old, it's their first time away from their family. It's their first time away from mom and dad. Oh, I can party. I can go to the bar. I don't have to, I can go drink every night, or I can, you can do all those things. And you're so used to it that, so you're just not used to the freedom, right? So I do think that it is an advantage that for people to go away, early on, because I do think that they grow up. And I also think, and I know this might be a little controversial, but when you look at kids, and I was looking at quite a few teams in the OHL. When you look at hometown kids that play for their hometown team, okay, I'm not going to say names specifically, but when you see kids who play for their hometown OHL team, very rarely do those kids have success in the NHL. And I think there is a little bit of not going away. These kids haven't gone away. So the first time some of these kids are going away are when they're millionaires, 19 years old, playing in the NHL, getting a contract. They got all this money. They're out on their own, and they want to party it up, and they want to do stuff, right? So I do think that we see that a lot. So I actually think there's a lot of merit in going away when you're younger.
And that's something like, again, Jamie Lambert, watching, give us some voice on his opinion. I lived across the world in Denmark, played Division I at 17 for the Odessa Bulldogs, and it made me a lot more mature. So for him, he went overseas. It's something that worked out for him. And before I get anywhere else, I got to put this comment in because Chris Carr keeps on taking shots at you here, Tony. Hey, Jay, you should talk more about volunteering in sports. And the other one with Chris Carr says it's very scary to have Tony on the show. So I just had to put that out there.
And you know what? If you actually look at something, because Chris, we're coming to this. Okay, Chris, we're coming to the NOJHL. And if you look what I wrote on my notes about the Thunderbirds, I wrote, love the coaching staff, and I included your name. So, Chris, because of that, Chris, I'm going to do this. And that's for you, Chris. So.
But going back, Chris Carr in sports, he volunteers for everything, right?
I've known Chris since I was 10 years old. He lived around the corner from me. And funny story about Chris.
Sorry to interrupt. A funny story. All I want is Chris Carr to come and paint my house, and he does not paint.
So great Chris Carr story. So Chris Carr got me in trouble when I was 10 or 11 years old because he was always the older kid, and he would sit up top in his room, and he blared out this. This is when Beverly Hills 90210 was a big deal, and he blared out this Beverly Hills 90210 trash song. And it had to do with like Brenda and Dylan getting naked in the pool. And I just remember that beat from Chris. And anyway, I sang that at my house once when I was a kid, and I grew up in a Catholic home. Oh man, I got in trouble for that. So thanks, Chris.
leave it up to Chris, right? But anybody who knows him, great guy, would do anything for you.
Absolutely. Good dude.
Give him Tim Hortons coffee and donut, and he'll do anything for you.
Absolutely. Yep.
So again, talking about that is